Welcome to the Emotional Eating Unwrapped podcast. I'm your host, Alana Kessler, an emotional eating and weight loss coach for women looking to fall in love with eating, create healthy attachments with food, and lose weight sustainably. Hello and welcome to another new episode of Emotional Eating Unwrapped. I'm your host, Alana Kessler, and today's episode is so apropos to my experience today. I am feeling the effects of perimenopause like so intensely today that I didn't even want to record this podcast today, right? This is like a slog. And I'm excited to talk about this today too. Been really looking forward to this topic, but my body right now is so tired out of nowhere, right? Seemingly out of nowhere. I woke up this morning and for no reason whatsoever, I feel not like myself. And I've been dealing with that experience the whole day, and I'm just going to walk my walk and walk my talk and talk to you guys about this because I really understand. And I think that the perimenopause conversation is one that needs to be had. And I feel really well versed as somebody who is going to have this conversation with you, because at 45 years old, this isn't just conceptual for me. This isn't just a trendy topic to get listeners. This is something that I am living every day for the last probably 2-3 years. I'd say that my symptoms started when I was 42, and I'll be 45 in January. And this is something that I'm living with every day. And the word perimenopause, like when we start talking about it in this way, it could sound really clinical, it could sound really cold, it could sound like it belongs in a pamphlet and nowhere else. But in real life, it doesn't show up as neatly labeled as it does when you go to your doctor's office and the doctor is like, yeah, I think you're in perimenopause. Here's like a really nice laminated pamphlet to give you some information and some resources, right? Like that's not how we experience this, right? We experience it messy in real life, unpredictably, spontaneously. And it's this thing where one day you know your body, you know your rhythms, and then suddenly you are waking up at random times in the night, like 3 a.m. You're hot, you're restless, you're unsettled, you don't want to look at your Oura ring to mess up your sleep score, or maybe that's just me. But either way, right? Like everything is just so different, right? Like the cravings get louder, all of a sudden, like you find yourself pouring wine, cooking dinner. Not that there's any issue with wine, but it's more to like calm yourself than it is for any other reason. And so if you've ever thought to yourself, what is happening with me? I used to have this all figured out. I want you to know that not only do I relate to you, but you are not broken, right? You're not broken, because perimenopause is not just about hormones. It's not just about having less estrogen and progesterone, right? It's not just about the science of it all, right? It's about identity. It's about who we know ourselves to be. It's about control. And it's really important that we address the multi-layered and the multifaceted nature of the experience of perimenopause and talk about it as it relates to who we are as women, and also how it impacts our relationship with food and maybe our experience with cravings or emotional eating and how that fits in as well, right? Because if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure that this is something that you're struggling with. And perhaps if you're in this phase of life, it's feeling a bit more exaggerated. It's feeling a bit more intense. And so I want you to walk away from this episode, not only feeling seen and understood by me, but also with some tangible, perhaps just little skills that you could take with you. All right. So let's talk about, what perimenopause is, which, as we know, it's your body moving into a new chapter, right? Hormones like estrogen, progesterone, which once followed a steady rhythm, they now rise and fall unpredictably. Okay, that's what truly starts to happen, right? You might notice your cycle starting to change. You might notice your mood swings are more intense. And, because estrogen and progesterone, they influence your psychology, they influence your blood sugar, they influence your emotions as well. And sometimes it can be subtle, right? And I know for me, like, it was subtle in the beginning. I thought I was just I thought I went to sleep too late. It was just, you don't really think it's perimenopause at first. Sometimes it's subtle. But other times it can feel like a roller coaster, right? Like you are on a roller coaster without the cage thing that goes over you to protect you from falling out of the roller coaster, right? And those shifts that become really unpredictable start to ripple into so many different areas of your life, right? Like we just talked about: mood, sleep, cravings, energy, metabolism, even capacity, right? Like how much stress, how much energy, how much stimuli you can handle in one day. I remember the first time that I realized something had shifted. And, maybe this wasn't the exact first time, but when I really noticed viscerally, especially when it came to my hunger, that something had changed. I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning, after I had had some alcohol the night before, like a glass of wine. And I felt, one, like my heart was beating really fast and like I was wide awake. And two, I was super hungry, right? Like I woke up feeling starving. And it wasn't like I could fall back asleep, like I could have a snack and something like that. It felt like a gnawing pang, like I had hunger pangs. And there was actually one time where I actually did go into my kitchen and I actually had a snack because the hunger was that strong. And my first thought then was like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? And of course, as somebody who has healed from emotional eating, compulsive eating, has really worked really hard to manage and sustain my impulses, and I have really strong impulse control. I was just like, what's happening? Right. But the truth was that nothing was wrong with me. I wasn't all of a sudden like lost everything. It's just that my body was speaking a new language. My body was speaking a new language. And this is the crux. Okay. No one teaches us how to translate it. I'm hoping that this changes. Okay. That's one of the reasons why I want to talk about this, is because I feel like it's important that we do have we do have a language around this, because most women think, like I did for a minute, I've lost discipline, I've lost control. But the truth is that it's not a weakness. It's really just biology. It's really just biology because, like I said, the fluctuating hormones actually does influence and impact your sugar balance, which impacts, your insulin uptake and your insulin release. And you could actually be feeling hungry, right? This is a biological thing. And here's where food enters the picture. Hormones, they don't just change your body, but they change how your nervous system processes stress, processes anxiety or unpredictability or a heavier, intense time, right? It's like somebody has cranked up the emotional volume, right? You're edgier, maybe you have less tolerance or patience. That's definitely me, right? So little things feel more maybe little things feel like bigger things. Stress feels sharper. And food can become one of the fastest ways to cope, right? For a lot of reasons, right? One client told me that she couldn't get through the afternoon without a latte and a muffin. I have women asking me in my programs, like, why after 2 or 3 p.m. the cravings feel really strong. And these women are in their mid 40s, right? Or late 30s, mid 40s, late 40s. And that this time of the perimenopause, the transition, even menopause, right? And the reason why what my client who shared with me that she couldn't get through the afternoon without some sort of like, carb and sugar to ground her and a latte to give her energy from the caffeine, it was because she needed something to feel steady when her body felt really chaotic inside, right? And like we talked about before, needing to have some sort of maybe alcohol in like a different way. There's a different motivation for the alcohol. It's about relief. It's about just taking the edge off and relaxing. And I'm not saying that that's bad all the time, right? Like it's totally acceptable to have a glass of wine to take the edge off, but you have to start to see if it's becoming a pattern. That's what's the most important thing, and try to understand what the root cause is and understand yourself better, because we can't heal what we can't see, and self-awareness is truly and self-understanding is truly the gateway to healing. And myself included, right? Like most afternoons, I have some sort of like sweet pick me up, right? Or some sort of pick me up, whether it's like a cheese stick or a couple, 2 squares of chocolate or something. Because brain fog for me and kind of being lethargic is something that I'm struggling with. And so I do go for that sometimes. And to be honest, like it's not a problem. I don't find a problem with it. It's more your own inner narrative. So at this point in my life, for me, I don't have shame around that. I also don't let that behavior spiral into an entire bar of chocolate. I don't feel like I did anything wrong. Right. And for most women, I think where the problem isn't actually having the chocolate or having the the pick me up that's food related, as much as it's the trap that comes after that. Because the trap starts with shame, right? Shame often follows this self-judgment, self-criticism. I should have had more willpower. I should know better. I should not need this, right? But at the end of the day, this guilt that you are projecting onto yourself, it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't fix the cycle. It just fuels it, because the guilt actually creates more stress in your body. And stress creates more chaos, which needs more soothing and more feelings of cravings, more hormone imbalance. And the wheel, right? That wheel keeps spinning. And then I want to move into some of the other narratives that come with perimenopause. One being the fact that I believe this to be true, and I have felt this in my own body, that I think that most women feel like perimenopause feels like your body is rebelling against you, right? It feels like your body is fighting you. And many people call perimenopause the second puberty, and it 100% is. The first puberty also has that, has that vibe, has that energy. It's just we're much younger, and it's a very different conjecture and projection of what this change is going to mean for our lives, right? There's like a hopefulness to it, whereas the way society frames perimenopause and menopause, it's sort of like a, and I think this is changing though, actually, which I'm very excited about. But, culturally for decades, it's been, oh, this is the beginning of the end, right? Of our femininity, of our youth. And so it does feel like a rebellion on some level. And on a physiological level, it feels like a rebellion because for years you knew your routines, you knew your body, right? You knew that if you wanted to clean things up, right, you could, right? Especially for me in the last decade and a half, right? I knew how to get myself back to a place that I felt good in my body. And, that's something I feel very proud of. That's the eating strategy that I teach in the sober eating method. That's something that I'm extremely, extremely proud and has given me so much safety and confidence. And I've known that if I go back to that way of eating, that it is going to help me feel the way that I want to feel in my body. And for the most part, that is still true. The one thing that I feel like has become very different for me is sometimes the food composition, the food combining, the times that I eat, right? And so the routine is not quite as predictable. It's shifting a little bit, and it feels weird for me, right? Like I can't have alcoholic drinks, in the same casualness that maybe I used to. I have to be a lot more intentional about that now because it affects me in so many different ways, right? I have to have different kind of workouts, right? I need to have workouts that are more low intensity rather than high intensity, because the high intensity workouts my body is perceiving as like dangerous, and it's actually making me more inflamed. This is something that I always tell people. It's like when you're coming into perimenopause, you want to treat yourself softer, right? You want to create a more parasympathetic rest and digest environment for yourself, right? And so in perimenopause, you have to adapt, you have to adjust, right? Things aren't the same as they were. And small shifts, it's like these really small things that end up leading to much bigger symptoms that you can feel. And so it's really important that you become a student of your patterns and of your habits and start to notice when little things that you might be like, oh, maybe this thing that I used to do all the time actually is the thing that maybe I need to adapt or adjust. Right? Because at the end of the day, your body is not really betraying you. She's really just asking for a new kind of relationship. And you are building that relationship in real time. And what makes this time even more complex is that this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? We don't just hit this time of our life and go away for a few years, work it out, and then like come back, right? This change, this huge transition, biological transition that comes without warning and comes without predictability, it collides with midlife. And so for many of you, you might be raising teenagers, you might be caring for aging parents, Maybe you have kids that are leaving home and you're grieving that transition. Maybe your career is shifting or you're hitting burnout, right? You're wondering what's next. And your body is changing at the same time that your life is asking these harder questions. Right? I think of one woman who I worked with who told me that she used to unwind after work by going to yoga. But now between the hot flashes, the, late night the late night anxiety, the insomnia, the caring for her dad, like she barely has time to make dinner. And she said to me, like, one time, half laughing, kind of half crying, honestly, the only thing that I look forward to is a glass of wine at night. Like that's what she said, the only thing I look forward to is a glass of wine. And, other people have told me a similar story where they're like, the only thing I look forward to is like my 2 ice cream sandwiches that I have that feel really like reliable for me. I know what's going to happen here. I'm going to eat them. It's going to taste good. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to feel relaxed. Even if it doesn't quite align with the rest of how they want to feel, right? And so maybe you felt that way too if you're listening to this, that food or wine is the only place that you feel comfort, right? The one thing that doesn't ask more of you or create more unpredictability. But when you start seeing it this way, like I said, you could ask different questions, right? You can, and I think that it's really important to acknowledge that curiosity is really the point here. It's not about never having a glass of wine. It's not about never having the ice cream sandwiches. Of course you can, but you want to be curious about what you're really looking for, what you're really needing, right? Is this craving an intentional thing? Am I eating this because it's intentional? Or is this about escaping the invisible weight I'm carrying? Is this about escaping an emotional situation? And it's really just about knowing, right? You really just want to know, because in the knowing, you can make a choice. And that's what you want to do. You want to make the choice and you want to feel empowered in the choice. There's no right choice or wrong choice. You just want to feel empowered, and you want to be connected to yourself enough to more often than not, make choices that are aligned with your higher self. Okay, so here's what I want to leave you with today. Perimenopause is not about decline. Okay, yes, your body is definitely changing. Yes, some days it will feel like a betrayal. But what if this isn't about loss at all? Like, what if it's a portal? Because for so many women, this time of life, perimenopause, is the first time life asks you to stop measuring yourself, stop measuring your worth or your power in the world by discipline, by weight, or by youth, and start asking yourself, what kind of woman do I want to become in this season? It's so amazing, actually. And I've been sitting with this question myself, to be honest. Right? I've been sitting with this question myself. And while I don't have all the answers, I definitely don't have all the answers. I know this, right? Power and worthiness and what I know to make me feel self-value in the world at 45 feels very different than it did at 25. Right? It's not about bouncing back or proving myself or having to show up perfectly. If that was the case, I definitely wouldn't have recorded this today. It's not about hustling harder, right? It's about presence. It's about consistency to your goal, to your goals that are aligned with feeling good, not only looking good or image based, right? They're deeper. It's about depth. right? It's about meeting my body as she is now and really devoting myself to understanding her and being committed to creating an environment where she thrives the best, and being willing to adapt and change, and be willing to reimagine, maybe even like a little bit about what she will look like. Right? That's something that I speak to my clients a lot about. A lot of my clients come to me with weight loss goals, which is a great, totally there for that. But a lot of the goals that they have are goals from when they were like 30. And I think it's really important to, recalibrate a goal like that when we get to the stage of life. Not only for our not only for our mental health, but for our self-love, and to learn how to grow that parts of ourselves to love ourselves in this new place of life. And not to say that you can't get to where you were when you were 30. Like, I know lots of women that way too, but you don't want to sacrifice joy for that. You don't want to sacrifice joy. Right? You want to continue to have, you want to continue to evolve into the stage of life where you can have rest and have connection with yourself and be compassionate. All right. So how do we practice this in real time? Right. So you want to reframe cravings as signals. So when you have a craving, or say that you do wake up at 3:00 in the morning, having that super gnawing hunger, and you do go grab something, instead of saying, I'm failing, you can ask yourself, what is my body telling me right now? Right. And then even before you eat something, you want to support your nervous system first. So pause, right? Pause before food. Take a couple deep breaths, right? Take a walk outside. See if you can harmonize your nervous system without food first. Okay. And then practice some self-compassion. Your body, it's definitely not betraying you, but it is transitioning. So you want to practice compassion for yourself. And you'd want to practice that. In my invisible weight detox, I have a bunch of compassion practices in there. If you want to think would really enjoy that program, it is a really, really great program that introduces you to the sober eating method. And it is the first step of the sober eating method. So it's a really great program to start to really work on these tools. The other thing you want to do is adjust your body, adjust your routines to be with your body, not against it, and not stuck in an old version of you. So you want to explore new rhythms. Maybe you need to explore different meal timing, different food combining, like I said that I've been doing, different, food compositions, gentler workouts, right? Maybe some more walking, longer walking, in between, maybe like one high intensity workout a week instead of 3. And then challenge perfectionism and comparison. Okay, notice when that's coming up. Try to challenge that, because the goal isn't for us to stay frozen in our 20s, right? The goal is resilience. The goal is freedom. The goal is becoming more whole and integrating all the parts of us that we have birthed and grown and cultivated and nurtured over the years, so that we're in alignment with who we are now, which is beautiful. Okay, so your body is not unraveling. She is transitioning, right? She's wiser, more grounded, and really a more resilient version of you. Okay, so the next time you find yourself standing in front of a fridge at midnight or craving sugar at 3 p.m. or pouring that glass of wine after a long day, don't ask what's wrong with me. Ask, what is my body asking me for right now? Okay, because this is not an end. Nothing is ending, right? It's really an opening. It's an invitation to stop chasing control, to let go of old rules that no longer apply, to step into a new kind of empowerment, not the kind that's measured by perfection, flawlessness, right? Rigid rules and discipline, right? It's the kind that's rooted in presence, adaptability, patience, compassion. And I say this as someone who's in it, like I've said this whole time. Right at 45, I'm still figuring it out. Right, not quite 45. I'll be 45 in January, but I'm still figuring it out, like messily, right? And totally imperfectly. Right? Totally imperfectly. And it's kind of fun, you know? It is kind, I feel, it doesn't feel fun today, but honestly, it is kind of a really unique time. And I do feel more me than I ever have. So that's really what I want for you. All right. So thank you so much for your attention today. Thank you for listening. I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation. I'm really looking forward to more conversations around this topic. If there's anything that you want me to chat about around this topic, please leave us a comment I think on Spotify, you can leave comments there. So if you'd like to, you can leave us a comment there. You could like and subscribe and leave comments on this video on YouTube if you're more of a visual video person. And then just a reminder about our monthly giveaway. Every month, we are giving away a free one-on-one coaching session with me, full hour with me. We'll chat. We could talk about anything you want, any guidance, advice. And the way to enter this giveaway is to leave us a review and a rating on Spotify and Apple. And you can send us a screenshot of that to @BeWellByAK on Instagram, or you can email podcast@BeWellByAK, and we will enter you into our giveaway. All right. So until next time, I'm Alana, and thank you for listening to Emotional Eating Unwrapped.